Hello, my name is Fernanda Mejia, and I am from Project for Healing Humanity. I have the pleasure to introduce Blair Corbett. Blair is from Ark of Hope for Children. I came all the way from Miami to personally thank him for the support that he gave us during the vigil on September 21st. I really, really want to thank you in the name of everyone in Project for Healing Humanity. We were conversing before we started, and how did we meet each other? How did we find out about each other? So we're going to start from there. And why you're so passionate about doing this work, collaborating with us.
Proud of
we collaborating with you.
Well, however it worked. I was very proud of what you all were doing in this kind of effort, because I'm big on bringing awareness to child abuse in general. I've worked with child abuse victims and stuff like that for quite a few years, and I've got some causes and Facebook pages and different things on child abuse. So when I heard that you were doing this World Vigil, it came across, I don't know, maybe perhaps an invite from somebody on Facebook, I'm not sure. But I found the vigil, and I was just like, wow, this is a great thing. Because so many victims or survivors might find some sort of healing in being able to do that, or families of those survivors or whatever. So I just remember finding out about them and then trying to find out who was leading this effort. So that's how I connected.
Right, and then we found out also that we have a mutual interest with the sex trafficking victims and how to connect with organizations that are actually doing an amazing job rescuing them and placing them in safe houses and providing for them the right program to be able to move on. So I would like to hear your thoughts about that. You have had connections with them and relationships with them in chat rooms, and your heart goes for everyone that has gone through that experience. So tell us a little bit more about your voice. Yes, you're very much advocating how we have been ignoring the boys that have been going through sex trafficking. So I really want to hear. You can share as much as you want today.
Well, when we're talking about, there's so many different, now you just name these different things, but when you're talking about sex trafficking and that, I believe that awareness is finally coming to the fact that this is going on. I don't know why it hasn't been acknowledged sooner than this, but regardless, it's here now. And people are being brought in from other countries to our country, brought from our country to other countries by people who are in the sex trades. It's trading in slaves, whether it's the sex industry or working or whatever. It's the second largest industry in the world now. And it's so much more profitable to these people than arms, like selling guns. Because a gun, you sell a gun, it's done. You can't rent a gun, but you can rent a person. Isn't that sad? So I don't care if it's boys or girls. It's the same kind of thing. You can get more more income out of these kids and people that you're selling as slaves, especially sex slaves. Because you can get how many customers a night? So that translates to how many customers a week.
And you were telling me that the life expectancy of the victims is how many years is that? How does it work?
Life expectancy of a person who, once they're brought in, of a young person that's brought into the sex trafficking industry, is 5 to 7 years.
Either because they died of drugs or...
Because they died of drugs, because they
commit
suicide, because they're of no use to the people anymore, because perhaps they're too much trouble for them. They don't fit in. They can become victim. They can die in whatever somebody's doing in the abusive situation. There's all kinds of reasons. But this breaks their soul. It doesn't just break their body. It isn't something that they just get over. So even if they were released to the street on this, it just overtakes them.
They won't be able to make it on their own. The intensity, the amount of therapy and treatment that probably they're requiring will be very intense, right?
But I think it's very naive of people to think that after somebody has been their, if you would, pimp, forcing people into this sexual thing, even if they were releasing these people, even if they that was their intention, that people would just continue on, but it's very naive to think they're just going to release them after a certain time. Once they reach a certain age, they're not going to just release them because they don't want that victim to talk about their experience with that trafficker. So they're disappearing.
And you were mentioning that you have close connections, or you're beginning to have relationships with a group. It's called the Defenders.
Yeah, Defender Foundation.
What exactly do they do?
They help rescue victims or people that want to get out of the sex trafficking industry, and it's very, they got to be very careful how they're doing it because they're trying to work right along with the law of wherever they're at. For instance, they work in Jacksonville, but they also work in other parts of Florida. Okay, but what they do is they are very sensitive to they've learned how the sex trafficker people work. So they're programming these victims into feeling that every authority figure, police especially, they're the bad guys. So, first when they get them in to become part of their network, there's a lot of, they try to meet their needs. They find out what their needs are and they meet them. Somebody if I've come in and I'm homeless, I have needs for, let's just say, love, housing, food, things like that. They provide those things, and then they come across as if they're the friend, as if they're the ones who really care about them. And then they schmooze them, if you will, and then they start introducing them to the sex things and stuff. And if that's when they'll start abuse, physical abuse. They'll start drug control, all sorts of things to control these people.
And what are the ages? They usually begin programming them to go into this for what age? It's just.
Well, even the federal statistics that Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, has gotten is, I believe they're saying federally that at about 12 years old and stuff is it's the average age of when they're being brought in. What does that mean? That means there's a lot that are younger.
You have heard cases of how old? What's the youngest person?
My gosh, the youngest is 2, 3, 4 years old. That's the youngest of abuse, but the youngest of actually being brought into trafficking is 2, 3, 4 years old, to where they're saying, you can continue using this child, but you rent the child, and then rent over and over and over the same child. And
what's we cannot give probably an accurate figure, but in percentage of women is higher than the percentage of men, obviously, but where is that they have most trafficking of men, boys than women? It varies. So.
Well, it varies. It's impossible to get accurate statistics. Okay, how do you know? Because they're not reporting to anybody what they're doing. So there's a lot of guesswork. There's a lot of things that are based on when they go in and they do a rescue. When they go and break up one of these rooms, who are they rescuing? Who are is it all women that they're getting in? Start basing it on things like that. But you've got to look at other countries. Other countries don't have any statistics at all. But I know that, was it CNN or whoever, probably not, probably like 60 Minutes, a year or two ago, ran a thing on boys in Afghanistan. Young boys that were being brought into this thing to do dancing. I think it was the dancing boys. And there was sexual abuse, physical abuse. So this was over in Afghanistan.
Yesterday, I just want to stop for a second. We were working on the computer, and then it's okay. We can leave it. We were working on. You were showing me on your page on Ark of Hope for Children that you have a particular section where you can see the latest news of what's going on with sex trafficking and different issues. I would love for you to share with them how they can get into that particular newsletter.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a very cool thing. On Ark of Hope for Children's site, we have an area dedicated to child sex trafficking. So you go in there, we talk about what the issues are, what the problems are, before we talk about what we feel our solutions are. So in the problems area, within this section is one for news. And thanks to this really cool program that's out there available to everybody, we've been able to put on our site daily updates, actually twice a day, updates in the morning and in the evening of anything that's been posted using Twitter and Facebook and stuff about child sex trafficking. So they can go, it looks just like a newspaper. They go in there, they click it. When you click it, it takes it to their site. But this automatically draws in all these stories that people post about child sex trafficking all over the world, really.
Okay, so just to do the steps 1, 2, 3, they go to, can you mention the website?
You go to arkofhopeforchildren.org.
And then?
And then you go to the sex trafficking section and pick up child sex trafficking news. And when you get there, you'll see a little paper with headlines moving across. You just click that and you go. And there's easily 50 stories. 50 stories for each edition. That's 100 a day. Of whatever the latest news is that's going on with the industry. And it's there to make people aware. People are not aware enough yet. We've got a thing in this, and it's, I get so frustrated, Fernanda, because people have a tendency to think, wow, they see on the news that somebody got saved from this or that. And of course, what's the saying, abused a child. They find out some kid's being locked in a closet for how many years or whatever it happens to be, and now the people have come in, they've saved them, hooray, their nightmare's over.
No.
It's not.
That's another kind of nightmare starting because, detoxing, reprogram, it just be able to detox them, be able to bring them into regular life. That can take years.
Can take years. So many of them are going through all kinds of emotional, mental trauma from whatever it is they've been through. And they're all different, and yet in ways they're all the same. There can be post-traumatic stress syndrome in so many of these victims. So many mental and then physical things. But for every physical thing that happens to them, people have the mindset that, okay, their leg was broken, 6 weeks later the leg's fixed. Yay.
No.
What about the mental with that lasts for years? And so many of these victims can't even go afford a place to go get any help.
So they go back into the same thing probably?
Well, no, what I mean is that they struggle with this for years. And then, as you know, they'll try to bury it if nobody's helping them. The instinct is to bury it. Try to move on.
That's the survival mode.
Yeah. So they do just different survival mode things. Some are strong enough to bury it for a while, until you're around 30-ish, and it all comes flooding out. Many of them end up on drugs or alcohol or whatever to bury it with. Others just, if you've been programmed to in the sex industries, if they've had sex with you like crazy or beating, you'll go and you'll do some of those things because that's what you're used to. How many of these people have been beaten and all kinds of things done to them, and now they're addicted to self-harm? There's so many things that people are not thinking about, and that's a part of what we have to do as Ark of Hope for Children and other organizations, I'm so excited about what Project for Healing Humanity is doing, is bringing awareness to this, that it doesn't just end at the time these people are quote-unquote saved.
And that's what we're going to finalize everything. We're going to be dedicating the last vigil this year. It's going to be in honor of the people that have survived this kind of experiences for the victims of sex trafficking. And Blair, he's going to be on board. He's here 100%, making sure that we can connect with other organizations and with every individual to make this a reality, and so I want to thank you today.
Oh, well,
from the bottom of my heart.
You're welcome. This is I can't imagine you know what, we know we're helping people, somebody out there, and I know for sure people that we've been helping. So to me, I've always gone on, if you help just one person.
One life is one generation, so you know what, if you think you're not making a difference, you are. With one life is one generation.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah.